On the 24th March 2025, the Chairman, National Council for Civic Education and Democracy, OGP Coordinator, the Ombudsman, Chief Executive, Charity, Director of Research and Training, Parliament, and Country Rep, Westminster Foundation for Democracy, led by the Deputy Minister of Information and Civic Education, arrived in Kenya to participate in the Open Government Partnership Africa and Middle East Regional Meeting, which was slated for the 24th to the 27th March this year. The conference was themed Rebuilding Trust through Open Government, and it focused on critical issues such as digital governance, access to justice, fiscal transparency, anti-corruption, legislative openness, access to information, and inclusive partnership or participation in governance processes, among other things. So this morning we're going to discuss the outcome and the importance of this engagement. And we do have in the studio Joseph Munda Bindi. He's the Chairman, National Council for Civic Education and Democracy. He's also going to speak on his 90 days in office. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, my dear.
And we also have the country representative for Westminster Foundation for Democracy, Reverend Alusine Suma. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Elizabeth.
It's a pleasure to have you as always. I'll start off with you. The governance partnership which just ended, it's coming at a time, I'd say, really critical for countries like Sierra Leone and other nations that are battling with whether it's civic disengagement, misinformation, or institutional skepticism. At this point we're in, what does it mean when you talk about open governance and how the average Sierra Leonean would assess open governance in Sierra Leone?
Thank you very much. Like he has given your introduction, the challenges countries are going through, especially our country, Sierra Leone. And we are talking about climate change in the world that is affecting every other aspect of our life, food security, water, and many other issues. Mistrust in government, the agitation of people across the world, and the issues of governance today is a whole different business, and the people want their involvement, inclusion, and participation into the issues that governs their life. And because of all of those challenges, mistrust, misgivings, that is where governments across the world, Africa and the Middle East, decided to form what they call the Open Government Partnership. That this is not a business we can do in the silos, we can do in the dark room, and where we are dealing with human beings. So the people you are ruling, you are leading, wants to be involved in issues that affect their life. So the only way we can reduce the tensions, the challenges we are facing, is to embark on open government partnership. Open government, that is, government be open to the people, bring the people on board the issues that affect their lives. Help them to participate, pass the information to them at all levels. So that is the open government partnership. So it is not too challenging. While we face the challenge in Sierra Leone, it's even imperative that as Sierra Leoneans, as government and people, we should embrace open government partnership. And that is where we can share our opinions, our views on the issues. We want to see how government can run the country. With the best of intentions, government can develop for the people of this country. If the people are not part of the work you are doing, they are not involved in what they are doing, it's like you'll be wasting a lot of time. Even where things are good, they may look at it very differently. Because there is a parable or there is saying, they say, if you say it is for me and I'm not involved in it, then it's not for me. So that is open government partnership. So we are there to ensure we bring to the attention of people what government is doing, and we also help the people to participate. Because the issue here is that until the people participate in government, if you are making road, if you are like electricity, like water, if the people you are making water for them are not involved in the water, you can put the borehole, the tap in the place, and they will still run to the bush to collect the water they believe in. That's one. So open government can help to bring the people closer. And we need that one urgently in our country. So in the wisdom of President Bio, that is where they established the National Council for Civic Education, and that is where he has embedded or placed the Open Government Partnership as a department in that institution. So we are doing our level best to ensure that we bring the people together, and the government and the people work closer together for the development of our country.
Now, that relationship, has it been nurtured in present-day Sierra Leone, or are we further eroding from it?
Open Government Partnership has started in this country for quite a long time now. I think 2013, the former President Kuruma, signed the first partnership agreement that he will implement that one in this country. So he started working on that one. And after his tenure, President Bio took over, and President Bio also reaffirmed commitment to the implementation of Open Government Partnership. So up to this moment, it's running. And presently, Sierra Leone is now implementing, because every year or in a period, 2-3 years period, countries sign up what we call commitment. National action plans are prepared, where ministries or agencies will make a commitment of what they will do in the area of open government, like anti-corruption you mentioned, financial management systems in our country, even parliament. So how can you make these areas open, inclusive, so that people will really know that you are working for them? So we are on that, and we are very strong in implementing those action plans in our country.
Now, from the Westminster's office situated in Parliament, one will be asking, how ambitious are the goals set by OGP, and how integral are they to the progress and development of Sierra Leone's democracy?
They are very ambitious, and also, I mean, just taking a lead from what the chairman said, the declining state of democracy, the issue of exclusion, which has led to quite a number of uprising in Global South. I mean, bringing the need that, okay, let's see. I mean, we all can also reflect back when we had that 10-year senseless voice as a result of exclusion. So if inclusion is a way out, and that's what one of OGP mantras, coupled up with openness and transparency, so we feel it's stronger. And in very many cases, we've had pockets of uprising reaction that we don't know what is happening, we were not consulted, we were not involved. And so that's why Parliament is an arm of government, because OGP is not just an executive run. Parliament makes laws, and Parliament decided to join the OGP Trail in 2019, and thanks to NACSED and also other partners within. So Parliament is also seeing how best its own work in the governance cycle be also open and other citizen ambit into it. And now you might have heard about Parliament now working with CSOs in a whole network, and Parliament have an office for CSOs to collaborate, and also has created more open doors and an appropriate way for citizens to participate in sittings and pre-legislative hearings. And quite a number of bills that comes to Parliament do not see Parliament discussion because of citizens' perception and in and into it. That's the listening part, and that's also the good part of OGP. OGP brings people together and makes everyone important. One example I think I could throw at this point in time is Sierra Leone over 10 years passed the Persons with Disability Act, and a progressive clause there was that after 10 years, all government building, all government transport system should be disabled friendly. And this has not been done, but when Parliament joined the OGP through the Open Parliament commitment, we saw Parliament is rammed. Parliament's got the shortest lift in Sierra Leone. I don't know if it's in the world, just one stair lift as a result of OGP commitment. So now you can have a person who is using a wheelchair or crutch can be able to go down to the well of Parliament to speak to the speaker and come up and every other thing. So that's the level of inclusion we're talking about, whether minority or whosoever you are. And we feel that also have a very strong heart in the governance process.
At some point in time, you spoke of legal reforms or legal framework, also to speak. Parliament has a critical role in ensuring that the required laws and regulations are passed. OGP, similarly so, looks at issues having to do with lacunas in the justice system, and this is where the Office of Ombudsman comes in. Speedy justice being provided to the ordinary man.
Sure.
There is the right to access information.
Exactly. Yeah.
In country. The implementation, adherence to the provisions in the Act still remains a problem inside you. How will this initiative help in getting those problems resolved?
So from where I see it, we work with Parliament as strong partners. So that's why the oversight committee in that particular sect. So when we have issues coming up at the OGP steering committee where I sit, also the chair sits there as the chairman. When issues comes up, and if it cannot be fixed at that level, also the parliamentary ambit on the OGP steps up. It activates automatically. And also in Parliament, we have a steering committee on the OGP. We have a number of transparency committees like public account, transparency, right to access to information. They could come together and they could interface with those ministries to ensure that what needs to be done, not to only just measure the OGP milestone, but also to ensure that Sierra Leoneans are satisfied and feel more involved in the process. I mean, you can agree that right to access to information has improved more than the way it was like 5 years ago. I mean, you can go to the internet now, you can draw some things. You want to disagree?
Yes.
Please.
but again, quite recently, a colleague of ours was doing a story on the redenomination, outcome of the redenomination. What sort of an impact has it had? To date, we are yet to get figures as to what was redenominated, among other things. And it hinges on the lives and livelihoods of the people. Those are Sierra Leonean monies, Chairman.
Yes, as I was saying, open government is a broad terminology, and there is an elastic scope of work we are doing. But the very important thing here, the elements we look for, is the inclusion, participation of citizens in the business of governance. That is the key thing we watch for.
Is transparency and accountability left out?
The OGP lens we put into issues. Governments may be doing very well, or anybody can be doing very well. But if the people are not involved or they are not aware in what they are doing, it could be misunderstood. And therefore, it will be blown out of context. So what we want to encourage, or what we are working on, is that bridging this gap at every level. Like you talk about right to access to information, lacunas in the legal framework. We are not lawyers per se in addressing lacunas, but what we are interested in, we are the people involved in this law. Did you hear their voice? And once the people have participated, then the outcome will be good for the people. Laws, in the legal aspect, there is no perfect law in the world. This is why the laws made are open for amendments with time. So at the moment we make our laws, we work with it, and what we learn from that, we inform the next review process. And every stage we want to take is that the people should be involved in that process. He mentioned Parliament. This is a critical structure in our country, and a very, very important arm of government. They make all of the laws for the people in this country. Do you allow people to sit, to listen to your debates in Parliament? Do you accept feedback of the people? That is what you are not saying is a feedback on the right to access information law or bill. So when all of these things are articulated, then they find their way into the law. I think people feel satisfied. The mere fact, in fact, you allow somebody to say his or her opinion, whether it is accepted or not, but listening to the person brings a lot of satisfaction. And that is the most important aspect. People should feel satisfied, in the way government works. And that is what we prepare the platform and bring people on board.
And there are many countries who also signed up to the OGP. And whilst you met in Kenya, where would you put or place Sierra Leone in fulfilling its commitment to the OGP, whether it's with the civic participation, access to justice? Are we leaders, learners, or maybe laggard in fulfilling the OGP's commitment?
In the conference in Kenya, in fact, the big thing about the conference was we gather in conferences, especially this one, is to share experiences, learn best practices, because no one country is independent, and until, especially in Africa, all African countries are able to manage their people well, then they will not be free at all. So we meet to learn from each other what the other people are doing, and what are the best practices we all can adopt. That was the bottom line. And what I personally learned, or we learned from Sierra Leone in the conference on OGP, Kenya as a country has a very strong firm commitment to implementing OGP issues. And why I say that one, Kenya, for them, OGP is in their national constitution, whereas that is not the case in Sierra Leone. And you and I know that any issue that is enshrined in the national constitution cannot be removed easily. Meaning, again, that governments must implement those issues.
In what
so
specific area for Kenya? In what specific area?
Consultation. Public consultation, involvement in any law. Kenya, according to what they are saying, their law in the constitution there, every law you make in Kenya, the people must be adequately consulted before that law is passed into law. And any law Parliament passes into law, they found out that it did not go through appropriate engagement practices, that law will be thrown out. They can go to court and it will not be law in Kenya. So that is how OGP is very strong in Kenya. And in Kenya, the people themselves have great awareness. They know they are right about these issues. So they participate very well on issues of governance. So that is one takeaway for me I can bring on Kenya. And of course, because of it is in the law, it is in the national law, then presidents over a period must be committed. Because their business as president is to uphold the constitution of the country. So once those things are there, then they find their way out. But in Sierra Leone, even though it is not in our national constitution, the president is highly committed to implementing OGP. This is why OGP is seated in the office of the president. You know, and appointing us to help do his work means he will report to the president and is fully aware of what is happening, and he gives the commitment. So not only financial commitment, but the moral commitment itself is there. And he always wants to ensure that these things happen in our country.
Access to justice was also a central theme during the conference which occurred. And for Sierra Leone, you would say many Sierra Leoneans, they are legally illiterate. They lack access to legal aid, legal education. From the council where you sit, what are you doing to actually improve on some of these challenges or shortcomings, or break some of these barriers? How do you get citizens educated about their rights? What remedies are out there for them in Sierra Leone? How can they access justice and legal aid?
Our trip to Kenya in the conference, if there is nothing else we can bring back home to Sierra Leoneans, the issue about access to justice is the good news and the big thing we brought from Kenya. That in the conference, if Sierra Leone was recognized as one country in Africa, in the sub-region, that have taken on board the concerns of the people in their country. We are very fully aware, like I have just said, the problems we have about justice, matters delay in courts, mediations are often not very adequate, and it is not every law that may have to find its way to high court and all of this. So some mechanisms of the office of the ombudsman and all of those issues we are fully discussed. And because of our trip there, Sierra Leone now is preparing another fresh commitment for the justice sector reform in our country, especially the office of the Ombudsman. And our visit to Kenya in that conference and our representation and our argument, our presentations has moved our partners that they will be even not only technically supporting Sierra Leone to implement that commitment, but they will also financially, and even in some logistic way to help us go through that process.
These reforms take a lot of time.
And that is to show the concern all of us have as Sierra Leoneans. We did not go to Kenya to just eat their food, but we went there to bring something back home that can benefit the average Sierra Leoneans.
These reforms take a lot of time.
In the next 6 months, we will be implementing, we'll be fixing the commitment, and the government will implement the necessary reforms that can open up justice, that can make the average Sierra Leonean good about justice in the country.
Aside the policy documents, what other practical steps will you be taking to ensure that some of these barriers are broken as you try to implement these reforms, which we clearly know will take a lot of time, a lot of processes, and a lot of funds? What practical steps would you also be implementing?
Practically, that is why, like I started, OGP is just a component in the National Council for Civic Education and Democracy. So the big work we'll be doing, not only on justice, but all other aspects of life in the country, is to engage the citizens, is to engage the people. So our business, whilst we are awaiting reforms that can ease the problem, but we will continue to engage even the judiciary in the implementation of the law. We will continue to engage our people on the steps they will take to address their problems. And even many other issues, even on the electoral processes, we educate the public. The people need to know. Sometimes the issue about access to justice, many people may not be even aware where they can go, what they need to do, what they need to have, what is their right about access to justice. Somebody can be beaten in the corner there. They know that if you go, some people may not be even aware about Legal Aid Board, which is there to help the average poor person to access justice. So NASED will educate the people, citizens in this country, about their rights, their responsibility, and the roles they can play in governance.
And it makes very clear that NASED, to some extent, has been laggard in ensuring that the public gets those information you're talking about, knowing where to go when A, B, C, D, or E happens. But again, at some point in time, you spoke of the Office of Ombudsman. I hope you've taken into cognizance that it's one of those offices that people consider a barking dog that doesn't bite. What sort of reforms do you think this engagement in Kenya will usher in terms of access to justice, among other things? Because there are empirical cases, very many cases, where the citizens have gone there and nothing were taken out of whatsoever they went there for. Most recently, that is that of our hunts, and even the Auditor General and our deputy. These are all issues that were in the Office of Ombudsman.
Yes, and like I said, if there is nothing good we can report, we bring back from Kenya. The reform on the Office of the Ombudsman in this country is one thing we'll be proud that we have been able to initiate. And as you know, the Ombudsman law in this country is so archaic that it's not speaking to the issues right now in our country. That is where even if whoever is placed in that office, you may not be able to do much because the laws are not speaking to the issues. And imagine, in fact, that's what I said in the Kenya conference, and I continue to say that too. That we make laws, we are working for the people of this country, that is the people, every other servant, civil servant or public servant. But whilst we are advocating and doing so much for our people, we neglect ourselves. The Office of the Ombudsman is there to address the problem about you and me. And when that office is neglected, we cannot revive the law that can speak to the terms today, then that's where we will all suffer. And you will not know it until you have a challenge one day in your workplace, and then you run to the place, and that's why I say it's a toothless dog, bulldog, that cannot bite. Because the teeth was not given to the dog at the time they are making the law. And now we want to revise, we want to reform the law. And the law, when it goes through, no matter how long it will take, but I'm sure it will not take long, because the government is committed and everybody is affected. And the law, when it goes through this current system, when you and me participate in that law, we talk about what are the deficiencies in the current law, and then what do we need to put in there when it comes out. I'm sure it will not just back, but it will bite, and it will be implemented to the best interest of these people of this country.
A lot of the conversation has been around legal reforms. Minimal has been talked about on transparency and accountability. At some point in time, I asked a question which I directed to him. It seems a lot needs to be done by Parliament in terms of ensuring that they speed up with the reforms that every other side doesn't envisage at this moment.
Yes, I agree with you. I mean, while Mr. Chairman was making his point, we saw a lot of commitment around, firstly around the Office of the Ombudsman and collaborating with other actors within the sub-region. But also in the issue of transparency, you can agree with me that a lot has been done by Parliament lately. We see the audit report and the work of the Public Accounts Committee and the level of recovery. And we've seen that every other engagement, every other hearing around the audit report is being put public. That's the level of transparency it's been worked, and everybody have the right to question on what comes in or the way the process is, so citizens begin to understand that one, accountability is not witch hunting. Transparency, it's also a right, a fundamental right of every citizen of a country, and these and many other areas. We've seen that lights being born in Parliament, and also with so many ministries within the executive, but also it needs to be lit the more. I agree with you. And that Sierra Leone needs to be at that point. I need to get to one stop to get information. I mean, because personally, we gaggled. I know there are gaps. I was trying to check out an information. I checked a relevant ministry. I saw the website was down. Like, is it for real at this age and century? But Sierra Leone is making enormous progress. And Chairman didn't say, but we were recognized highly for Sierra Leone work with citizen and parliament. That was recognized at the high level in the opening speech of OGP. That Sierra Leone has made remarkable breakthrough around bringing CSOs in the lawmaking process, and that was signposted right across the world. Like no one has ever done it like the way Sierra Leone has done it. And for that reason, I think there's a proposed visit of the OGP delegation to come and understudy how Sierra Leone go through that, because that's part of what the Westminster Foundation of Democracy, we supported with our work with Parliament. Because in us, we want to ensure that democracy becomes a living conversation. Democracy conversation change wherein everyone feel we're part of it and don't feel democracy is politics only. But politics is an ambit also that influences democracy in its own right. So when also we bulk on the conversation around transparency, it's about how sincerely processes and actions are open. And not only open, but are accessible. Some things are open, but are not accessible. Sure. So the two, openness, accessibility, and transparency, and public participation, which sits like a parent goal there, how it's being exercised by very many. So in that sect, I mean, the OGP has been so much light in the conversation lately. I know it's so many Sierra Leoneans were like saying we don't hear a lot about OGP, we don't, but every other areas within government is being amplified by the OGP. And the interesting thing, the National Action Plan for Sierra Leone was developed with strong recognition and consultation with the medium national term development plan of the government. So it's not bringing like a new burden to state resources. It's actually like coming at the monitoring end. I don't know if it's in section 8 of that plan. I haven't read the plan for a long time now. But there is a monitoring ambit pillar of the medium national term development plan. And OGP comes in and just took a leaf on it. And then we see in our best those actions like we're going to employ 5,000 teachers, we're going to build 10,000 more schools, we're going to make, this is what OGP looks at. You said you were going to do this. This is private sector, civil society, and NACSED, we're asking, government, you said you're going to do this, have you done this? So it's a kind of oversight in its own right, but from a citizen's perspective. And that's what we're pushing at.
I was just looking at the aspects of low bandwidth internet access and technical illiteracy, more so within government and the population. At some point in time, my colleague did mention access to information. I mean, you know, the illiteracy rates among Sierra Leoneans in terms of them even understanding the laws, among other things. How will OGP see the need for this one to be addressed?
We are moving forward. Every day, things are evolving in the world.
Are we making baby steps or giant steps?
Well, I will not know how giant you want to describe it, but what they say is that every single step will take you forward, and we need to be taking a step forward, which we are doing. So what I want to say here is that we are aware of the challenge we are facing today in the world about digitalization, about technologies that are coming. In fact, while we are struggling with WhatsApp and the other issues in Sierra Leone, like I just saying, we have now been faced with AI, that is artificial intelligence, has taken over the world. So meaning all we need to do Sierra Leone is to double our steps.
So that's more the reason why it seems like it's baby steps.
Not only about government, this is a challenge to Sierra Leoneans. Sometimes we want to say government. To talk about AI, artificial intelligence, we go to the schools, the younger ones coming up, that they have to grasp this technology, you know, and all government will look up to government to do is to establish the infrastructure, the
Are we more concerned about the pupils in the schools grasping AI? They seem to be up to speed, rather than those who already are grown up, or those who are occupying spaces right now. As Reverend Suma mentioned, one of the ministries, he just checked online, you know, it wasn't so active as you would want it. Even the SLFA page, you know, I was trying to find some documents, find their statutes, it's not online. And we're also fighting, you know, when you talk about the digital civic space as well, it's very important because it's where you have misinformation, disinformation, and the like spreading through. The civic engagements you hold as well, how do you ensure that the digital space is equipped or utilized so as to reach into generations, you know, whether it's the old or the young?
That is the beautiful thing about the NACSED, my office, and that is the vision of the President Bill.
Do you have a TikTok page?
You mean NACSED?
Yes.
TikTok page, we have the website page, we have YouTube. We, of course, the normal WhatsApp is there. It is not all of the apps you may have to use to say I'm there.
What do you use the WhatsApp for? What do you use the WhatsApp for?
What we do is like first is you study their people and the competence of your people in your country and what they are able to do at a time. What is really very common in Sierra Leone, that even in my village, a lot of people now is that a lot of people now use phone, no matter which kind of phone you can talk about. A lot of people can send text message. A lot of people can use WhatsApp across this country. Maybe if somebody can go and conduct some survey, they may come with figures to say that about 70–80% of people can use WhatsApp. And this is one means of communication in our country, which all of us are utilizing. So it's not just to go to the high top platform to bring to people. You use what they are using and you build on that knowledge to advance to the other stage.
Would you agree that the civic space is left open and unengaged to a larger extent? Now, the civic space should be engaged, you know, with citizens. So you, whether it's a message you're trying to send out, you find out, like you've mentioned, what do they use? What means of communication? If it is radio, for example, you want to break down a message, you get it dramatized. If you want to put it on TikTok, you follow with a little bit of content added to it, you put it on TikTok. What do you do on YouTube? What do you do on Facebook? We're talking about the civic space in the digital world.
Yes, and that is exactly what NACSED is trying to build. We are developing our tools of communication. We are developing strategic engagement methodologies and targeting specific people at a particular time. You know, when messaging, as you know, is for categories of people. To whom am I talking? Who is my audience? Who do I want to reach? Then the looking categorization of your audience, you now develop a appropriate tool to reach to that person. So at this moment, in the midst of we want to reach to all levels, the bulk of Sierra Leoneans are on WhatsApp. Some good numbers are on TikTok. They are moving to that level, YouTube, etc. So we utilize all of these platforms. But where we want to make a very big reach, we will not forget our traditional platform of WhatsApp. And let me tell you, radio also is playing a very critical role in our country.
Of course.
In almost every village you go, in fact, guys take their radio to the farms. When they are walking, the radio is hanging somewhere, and they listen to news. So that is one big development in Sierra Leone. So one way we can reach out to people across the country is through radio. And another way we want people, that is another area we want to work. It's not just, NASED is not the one that is building the infrastructure. We talk to you that we need to improve on this area. And that is why we bring about OGP. Like even this platform we are using today, this channel, we are using the television. And in Sierra Leone, we are not able to reach 20% of our homes on television. We have televisions in government offices and some other bigger offices. But
which is most times muted.
Yeah, even in those offices. Television use is still low, maybe for obvious reasons. This is one big channel we have to improve on in our country.
Would you also agree with me that the council, you know, which was actually meant to, you know, champion civic engagement is a bit dull or silent as opposed to having civic engagements from the Minister of Civic Education himself, the Information Minister? We hear less of you.
Yes. Well, it's a matter of perception.
Okay.
How low they are or how high you want them to move, you know. But like we are saying, NASED and the Minister of Information are doing their level best to reach out to the people. What I know and you know is that from the ministry's angle, that every Tuesday, like even today, there is going to be a public engagement, engaging the media. The minister goes there himself and they bring some ministries, selected ministries, not all at a time. This is the platform for accountability to the people of this country. This is the area of transparency of what you are doing and what I'm not able to do. So work is going on, like I've just said. NASED is also going on. The issue is about are the people themselves making efforts to access information? Are the people themselves making effort to access information? We have newspapers. How many people are reading newspapers in this country to make the best out of that?
But you've just said as well, you have to tailor your message according to your audience. So you have an audience who reads newspaper. You have an audience that listens to radio. You have an audience that's just on TikTok. So how do you get them engaged in the civic space?
So this is what we are making. This is why we are saying that we are going to the people using different channels. Like every Tuesday, the minister goes out there to engage the media.
Is that enough?
When you use 5-10 media houses, you know, in a discussion program, each one goes out, they have their outlets, then you are able to reach to thousands of people just in that engagement. Because the radio will be there, like all of these platforms they are called in social media areas, they will all go and employ that one. So in civic education, like we are here this morning, is the Ministry of Mores, NASED is soliciting the support and cooperation of citizens in this country. That is where, especially the media, that we are in this business together, because you have the platform where we can speak and it goes out. And that is where the engagement that a lot of people have to come. I will come and speak. This we are saying here, I will expect it goes in various forms. Like if we are speaking, that it may not only end in the television. Can we transform this? It goes into the YouTube. Can we transform this? It goes into the Facebook. So that those that are not listening to the television as we are speaking may access this, what we are saying, in YouTube,
so
may access it in the Facebook.
So
it is not nothing.
This conversation is on Facebook, and at the same time it's on radio.
That is what I'm saying.
Broadcast right across the country.
Good. That is what I'm saying.
But how regular is it?
That is when we work
have
together.
Various guests every morning.
When we all work together, how wonderful! Like this, we are making. Like we came, it's like, oh, we are targeting television, but you are now surprising me now. You are on Facebook, you are on YouTube. So by that way, we all work. Then we are able to reach out to the people. And let me tell you, in our OGP engagement, in all of this we are saying about accountability, transparency, the people in the media are critical elements in this way. So whilst we say always say government, it comes back to us. How can we help government to reach out to the people? That is their own business. All right, so it's not everything that government has to build. I can just develop one, and then you can now escalate that one to various means and will reach out to people. So we will be coming for closer collaboration, and which I think my Minister of Information has started, and how we can build this platform stronger so that we are able to reach to the Sierra Leonean people in this country.
We are about wrapping off with this conversation, but again, Reverend Suma, how will the OGP ensure that citizens prioritize, citizens' priorities are reflected in the action plan?
So this is why OGP is about co-creation process. That's why you're talking about OGP, which people feel is more governmental, and see me from the civic or development sector is sitting here with the chairman. That when developing the milestones which informs the national action plan, there has been several levels of consultations, like NAC said, and also the civil society partner goes round across the country and engage citizens on what priority look like. So after gathering all these thoughts, we can put them in a strategic framework and prioritize which one was of more importance and more across the country. So those priorities are informing to the national action plan, because OGP is about improving public service, about building also on public integrity. It's about how government is using the resources and allocation of those resources, and it's about also creating a safer community for everyone. But in its entirety, at the steering committee level, I think I was speaking to the chairman, we used to get the media in the steering committee level, but I think it's represented by one media organization there. And also we've got CSOs, we've got the government agencies within, and even make an effort to bring in the private sector. This is our best. Everyone's voice is on the table. And on a regular basis, yes, there's need to reach out. And I also agree with you, there's need to exhaust also other platforms to reach out to citizens and content some of the issues in that way that citizens can own and understand them, because the person watching via YouTube in Krubola might not understand the English, but needs maybe a Krubolian to forgive me, somebody who can understand their language. Or chairman can go maybe in Bo, where he's been a chairman for the longest of his time, and also could just speak to them as a former council chairman in that land, which he's been doing. So the OGP Global Regional Summit also, it brings with us, like you said, a number of recommendations like scaling up. I know there is need also for digital optimization. I mean, to them in Kenya, they've already even had the first AI law on artificial intelligence. So the good thing is when there's an emerging industry, they legislate it so it don't go out of control. So I normally can ask the questions, and when they say, okay, what kind of riders are misbehaving? I said, no, when the market was emerging, nobody put legislation into it, and we expect the market to regulate itself. And I think that's also a learning we're bringing home, that when things started to emerge, we need to get people to understand the space, which I'm sure NAC said, and also Moise is also making frantic efforts to understand the AI space, and also how does that help our economy and our society largely. Because to be honest, a fresher going into AI and dumping stuff and taking stuff, it's not good for knowledge revolution. I mean, AI is for experts who already know the space and reforming those thoughts across it. But other than that, for places like Sierra Leone, we are literacy level and also high interest in diving down to research as a student, it might dwindle down the expectation that we're expecting to have. And so there is an urgent need also to legislate AI thoughts, especially in the academic sector. So we could start having maybe more good lawyers, more good doctors, more this. Other than that, we're set to go down to the brim. And also, as part of the learnings there, Sierra Leone was able to sit in a number of panels. There's a ministerial panel which the Deputy Minister sat on and spoke largely about the aspiration of Sierra Leone, also in broadening the info and civic space, and also the Office of the Ombudsman. And so there has been also critical milestones with people interested, because it's part of our OGP Open Gov Challenge, that the Office of the Ombudsman to look at, you said it's archaic statutes, and how best that could be revisited, and also see whether that could be amended or going for something new, and also what could be done also to address the very many other areas it could be. This discussion is also a good point. I mean, some of the issues also could ping in as a recommendation, because it's part of the OGP. OGP has also a social media handle, which is also on NACSET's website, but also moving to TikTok also is a good opportunity, because quite a good number of agencies they are playing there. That's their playground. And I feel, okay, we need to see a video where chairman's wearing his T-shirt. I'm like, say, you know what, it's your rights to do this, but also this is your responsibility. I'll follow him. I'll chase chairman. That NACSET have a TikTok page in the next coming week.
Okay. You know, let's also talk about civic responsibilities, because we always cry about our rights, and, you know, we are also in a space wherein people do not ask questions. It seems they're not interested in governance. They don't hold government accountable. We look at how we respect the rights and dignity of others. Sometimes you put a question mark to it. How do we also get citizens on board? Because civic responsibilities and open governance, they work hand in hand. Yeah. They're interconnected. How do we get the citizens interested? Sometimes when you listen to radio stations in certain countries like Ghana, wherein you get a large population of even the drivers tuning in to listen on radio to some of the discussions that go around governance. You have people calling in to make contributions. You can tell that the population there is largely interested on who is governing them and how they govern themselves. Is that the same for Sierra Leone? How do we bring citizens along in discussions like these?
Well, that's why in our effort at Westminster, we're trying to make democracy more sexy. Sexiness, for using the word. So it's to be more attractive. So we work directly with Parliament quite a lot. So what we've worked with Parliament to do is to ensure that young people are interested in parliamentary work. There's a Sierra Leone Kids Parliament who have kids sitting. So if at that stage, which is a population of over 1,000 plus kids across the country, comes to Parliament to sit and look at things, it builds an interest. There's also the youth sector who also come and do a number of parliamentary sitting. Parliament has opened its space to also a lot of other women's group. And by next year, we're looking at how to see we can have a women's parliament in Parliament, like getting the women from the district. I mean, we'll beg the speaker to talk, people to talk Creole. Come tell us what their problems are. So they could have interest. There are young people also we're mentoring, and also the Female Caucus of Parliament is mentoring young ladies who wants to go into politics. So to make it much more interesting, and now they're seeing parliamentarianism as also a good way to go. I think that should be done for also other sector within the country. I know there are people who see a decline in space of having their voice heard. Largely, because I mean we got to be sincere about the conversation wherein you want to say what it feels like in your heart, and you felt like, okay, maybe someone will not see this right or think it's politicking. So how do we broaden that space largely? Civil society space is declining. Let nobody... Actually, I did my undergrad and my thesis in that, and we need to see how best we could broaden. But in some areas, it's really appreciating. But also, we do not need to neglect the shrinking space in the funding environment, which is making all of those social networks becoming muchly dependent on who pays the price. And that's what is also making the space. So there should be, frankly, now, civil society organization needs to also get other fundraising streams other than the normal donor funding support, which, of course, we'll see Trump has suspended all kind of foreign aids and other people are following through. What they get money to do their programs? Who do they lean to? That's why also sometimes you see they said this society is pro this party, because politician comes in and they know what they have to feed and they pay the price. But Sierra Leone also is known for some other good things. The cultural diversity, largely in some space, it's really a growing niche. And also what Parliament has done with civil society, it's also an enviable thing. Before now, I know government used to meet with civil society, right? the president or vice president some time ago, but I haven't had that for a long time. But also, maybe, chairman could check on that, on how that works. I don't know for the judiciary what happens in that side. But if every arms of government also learn a leaf from what Parliament is doing with civil society, I think that could also clear the blurry lines around civic participation. And now, I think we've got a strong challenge to go into open states, which we are thinking largely, we are questioning indicators to move from open Parliament or open government to an open state, and then that requires a lot. Don't ask me questions about it, because we're still on ideation stage.
Okay.
I think it's been an amazing moment this morning. We want to say thank you so very much, gentlemen, for being with us in the studios this morning to talk on OGP for Sierra Leone.
We should get you as ambassadors. Chia, we need to start enrolling ambassadors for OGP.
Of course, like I just said, I was talking to my staff yesterday, and they were designing a program to do, and I told them we are looking for civic champions.
These two can.
How we can. So that program is coming.
Reverend.
When we meet in the territory.
I like the cooking. I mean, that was a bit, but you always got a voice too.
Indeed, I say thank you so very much. It's been an amazing conversation at Sierra Leone. This will continue. It will not end there. We'll keep asking the questions.
I know.
Yeah.